Hi friends, this is Satyapal Deepak. I teach Indian Polity at Shankar IAS Academy. This video is part of series of videos where our staff from Shankar IAS Academy is explaining how to approach the questions asked in UPSC preliminary examination. We are not going to discuss the question, but the techniques that should be applied in order to eliminate and arrive at the correct answer. Even if you don't know the answer, but still by looking into the options, by following various techniques, we'll be able to arrive at the correct answer. So that is the purpose of this video. In today's video, we are going to talk about Indian polity questions. There is a usual view that Indian polity questions are most interpretative in nature and most subjective of all the questions that is asked in the preliminary examination. There is a truth in it, but remember, out of 12 to 15 questions that is asked in preliminary examination, 80% of the questions will be simple. It'll be straight to answer. Now, only 2 or 3 questions is going to be interpretative in nature. So what we are going to today is to take up 30 questions of different type, the different approaches that should be followed in taking up these questions, especially interpretative basis questions, how to arrive at answer with various techniques will be discussed. Dear friends, before going into the questions, I would like to deal with a set of problems that aspirant will face while taking up polity questions. The first such problem is whether to follow the letter of the constitution or spirit of the constitution. What do you mean by letter of the constitution? The exact constitutional provisions. Whereas when I say spirit of the constitution, it means why and for what purpose the particular provision has been introduced in the constitution. And if that provision is removed from the constitution, what will be the impact? Okay, that is called as the spirit of the constitution. For example, we can take the example of election commission. Any constitutional body by spirit, okay, by logic, should have some independence. So whether election commission will be allowed to take post-retirement jobs or not, by logic, by spirit, if you answer, they should not be allowed, because if they are allowed for post-retirement jobs, what happens? They will lose their independence. So that is why many of the constitutional provisions, for example CAG and all, post-retirement job is not there. But in Indian constitution, for certain reasons, they've said election commissioner will be allowed, is not barred, is not banned from post-retirement job. So supposing they are giving a statement in prelims examination, there is election commissioner can be appointed in post-retirement jobs after the election commission post, the answer, the statement would be correct. Now we are answering by letter. Okay, so now generally students will have a dilemma whether to follow the letter or spirit. To solve this dilemma, okay, there are 2 types of questions. One is philosophical questions, or there may be some type of questions which is based on constitutional provisions. Philosophical questions or political theory based questions. For example, they are asking about nature of democracy, nature of federalism, nature of cabinet form of government, like that. If they are asking philosophical based questions, what we have to do is you have to go by the spirit, that is the purpose of democracy, purpose of other things, because nowhere it would be written about democracy or federalism which is specific to India. Okay, so you can go by the general meaning, by the spirit of the constitution. But if there is a constitutional provision, go by the letter of it. I'll give you another example. By spirit, judge's salary should not be reduced at all. But as per the constitutional provision, judge's salary can be reduced during financial emergency. So when a statement exactly is taken verbatim from the constitution, you have to go for the letter of the constitution. Otherwise, generic terms that is used in Indian polity like democracy, federalism, secularism and other things, you can go by the spirit of the constitution. Now this is the first problem we have dealt with. Now let us discuss the second problem, that is interpretation based questions. How to solve these questions? Whenever you have been given a statement in Indian polity and you have 2 different interpretations, at that time you first look into the options. When we go to the questions now, with example I will explain to you, but I'll just tell you the technique first. By looking into the options, you will be arrive at the correct interpretation. You have to apply both interpretation and see whether answer is coming. For only one interpretation, answer will come, because when the examiner is taking the question, he will be having one perspective only, he will not thought otherwise. So I would have chosen the option accordingly. So by looking into the option, you can arrive at the correct interpretation. That is first one. Second is, by applying a general logic, you can arrive at the answer. For example, certain statements will be sweeping statements like all, always and all. So you can generally think that all, always and all will not come. We can go for a plain statement. Then third one is to go by book. Whichever book that you have read, on the basis of it, you can go for the interpretation. Instead of worrying about multiple interpretations that is available, that is being given for a particular concept, it is better to go by a single book when you apply the interpretations in the same book, mostly the answers will be correct. The chances of getting a wrong answer will be very less. Okay, so this is the second problem. The third problem that you will face is whether to go for an updated judgment of the court of law. Because polity, this is a big issue. Okay, that is whatever you read in the Indian polity book. Okay, that is keep on being updated by the judiciary. Every other day we have many judgments, especially the current year we have plethora of judgments given by the judiciary. So whether we have to answer based on the judicial judgment or whether we should be going by the book. Okay, so book versus judgment. There will be certain judgments which are once for all fixed. For example, basic structure doctrine, Kesananda Bharati case, judicial review, okay, is a basic structure doctrine and it is applicable for all the laws and all the constitutional amendments. The change from procedure established by law to due process of law, all of these things has been fixed and accepted. There is no question on it. So we can always go by the judgment in those cases. Now in some cases where the final judicial judgment is not given, maybe the High Court has given a judgment and there is an appeal in the Supreme Court, then you can go by the book. And usually UPSC does not ask questions which is currently being discussed by the court of law, but however in case they are asking, for example recently money bill controversy, now the court has finalized money bill can be subjected to judicial review. However, earlier there was a dilemma whether it is subjected to judicial review or not, so at that time you should have gone by book. So now since the final judgment has been given, no question on that, you can say that money bill is subjected to judicial review. Something which has arrived judicial finality, you can decide on it. Then the next problem that we face is fact versus opinion. Never answer based on your opinion, how Indian polity should be. Supposing you want the governor's office to be having fixed tenure. Okay, I am giving you a simple example so that you will be able to understand. That is your desire, opinion. If they ask governor has a fixed tenure, you cannot be saying governor has a fixed tenure. It is a wrong statement. Okay, because you should go by the constitutional provisions, not by your own opinion. For example, right to privacy. Right now, right to privacy has been a settled matter by the court of law. But however, if you see some of our politicians still contesting, there is no right to privacy under Article 21. So now, how you have to go? Whether you have to go by fact or opinion, you have to go by the fact. Okay, you should not go by the opinion. Okay, so that is why in a thorough reading and revision of Indian constitution and its provision will help you score more, okay, rather than just assuming and answering. Then the other problem that you will be facing is convention versus constitution. Convention versus constitution. Here sometimes some of the practices are followed in Indian polity based on convention, some as constitutional provision. So you must know which is a convention, which is a constitutional provision, or for that matter what is a statutory provision. Look for these words according to Indian constitution, whether according to convention, according to the statutory provision. So accordingly when they are asking, the statement may be true but it is not true for the particular given word. For example, there is pro tem speaker. Pro tem speaker is a convention. Okay, as per Indian constitution, the pro tem speaker presides over the first session of Lok Sabha. Like that, if they are giving the statement, they have used the word as per the Indian constitution. As per the Indian constitution, it is not right. As per convention, it is correct. So you have to see whether a particular practice, a particular provision is a convention or a constitutional provision or a statutory provision. Based on that, you should be giving the answer. And friends, now we will go into the questions, each one of the question. Each one of the question is of different type and we are going to see how to deal with each of the questions. So we have discussed the problems, main problems faced by UPSC aspirants while taking polity questions. Now we are entering into the previous year UPSC question paper. Every question, one by one question, and we will see what are the problems faced in dealing with that question, how to overcome it. So first type of questions that we are going to discuss is current affairs based questions. Like other subjects, in polity also, there is an inclination for the examiner to ask more questions from the current affairs part. That is why even when you are revising the polity, those topics which were regularly appearing in the newspapers has to be dealt in depth. Multiple revisions is must. Now this question last year, okay, on office of leader of opposition is asked because the leader of opposition post was continuously in news. Whether it is appointment of CBI director, whether it is appointment of Lokpal, or the leader of opposition post was not fully given to Congress. In these ways, the office was in news continuously. So whenever an office is in news, immediately you have to go and study about the particular office. So any preliminary reading, okay, any content that you look into any of the books or an online material, if you put leader of opposition of India, okay, you will know that the first Lok Sabha did not have a second single largest party. in case the independence MPs were the second largest, and then came the Communist Party of India. Okay, and we know that in Lok Sabha, if a party has to be recognized with the leader of opposition post, it should have 10% of MP seats of the total membership of Lok Sabha. So which means political party requires at least 55 seats in order to claim the leader of opposition post. So here, now this is very familiar to us. It was coming in the newspaper itself that 10% of the MPs is required in order to claim the leader of opposition post. So 3 will definitely come. Then in the second statement, okay, the preliminary reading of the book itself, in the Lok Sabha, leader of opposition was recognized for the first time in 1969. Yes, okay, first time recognition, but remember statutory recognition, this is where you may get confused. Statutory recognition, that is through law, office of leader of opposition was recognized only in the year 1977. So some may have a confusion, but simple reading of book, we know second statement is also correct. That first statement, Swatantra Party, UPSC does not give option just like that, because the first political party to be given leader of opposition post was Swatantra Party. That was in the year 1969. Okay, but it was not in the first Lok Sabha, it was in fourth Lok Sabha, 1969. So if you know the leader of opposition was first given 1969 to Swatantra Party, then easily you can eliminate one as a wrong one. Okay, so now the answer should be either B or C, because A is eliminated, D is eliminated. Okay, and 2 and 3 we know that it is a correct answer, so answer would be C. So the main point that you have to take after this discussion is, okay, any constitutional office, any provision which is appearing in the newspaper, immediately that area has to be dealt with, and that too in this last 20 days of preliminary preparation. You have to heavily concentrate in these areas, because polity is a very bulky subject. To cover everything, revising everything at the last minute is not possible. Okay, while revising, give more stress on current affairs related institutions, current affairs related provisions from the constitution. So some of them I've listed out. JPC, Joint Parliamentary Committee. After the Rafale deal, there was a request from the opposition parties to establish a joint parliamentary committee. The joint parliamentary committee, what is these numbers, what is this composition and all is decided by speaker only, decides everything. Then money bill was the news, breach of privilege motion, office of Chief Vigilance Commissioner, office of CBI, and also Lokpal. So these institutions you have to read thoroughly. Okay, fine. Next, okay, this question is an example where you will have a confusion whether to give answer by the provision of constitution or we should be going for judicial judgment. So this question also was asked in last year 2018. The first statement, Parliament of India can place particular law in 9th schedule of the Constitution of India. This is a constitutional provision, 31B. Article 31B talks about it. The second provision, the validity of a law placed in the 9th schedule cannot be examined by any court and no judgment can be made on it. Now this was an amendment that was made under 42nd Amendment. Okay, when Indira Gandhi made an amendment, when she introduced talked about this 9th schedule, she said no law which is placed in 9th schedule shall be subjected to judicial review. However, a judicial finality has been given in 1980 in a court case. The court has declared that judicial review is a basic structure doctrine, and the 9th schedule, any provision placed in 9th schedule also can be reviewed. And the court also has clarified 1973 is the dividing year, that is the Kesavananda Bharati case. Before 1973, if you have placed any of the law within the 9th schedule, it will be not subjected to judicial review. However, all other laws can be subjected to judicial review. So now the statement is the validity of a law placed in 9th schedule cannot be examined by any court and no judgment can be made on it is a false statement. Judicial review is possible. Now the problem you will have is, okay, by the constitution, 9th schedule, the purpose of 9th schedule is no judicial review. 9th schedule provides judicial immunity. But however, judiciary has said, no, it is not acceptable, we will go for the review. By which aspect we have to go? Whether we have to go by constitutional provision or by judicial judgment. Yes, since judicial finality has been given, no more question has been raised on this issue, we can go for judicial judgment and say that judicial review is applicable. So the second statement will be wrong. So now what would be the correct answer? A only is the right answer. Now some of the questions is asked to test whether whether it is a statutory body and non-statutory body. Okay. Now how to differentiate between statutory and non-statutory bodies, even if you don't know, because it is very difficult to memorize all the bodies which are all statutory bodies, which are all non-statutory bodies. Statutory bodies will have powers with it. Non-statutory bodies mostly will be advisory in nature. So what is the logic is, we follow the principle of rule of law. So if you are going to give power for any of the institution, any board, any tribunal, any institution, okay, you should be giving the powers only through law that is made in the parliament. Directly the Prime Minister cannot give power to any of the institution or bodies. So if a statutory institution is having some powers, okay, definitely it is going to be a statutory body. Likewise, see, Niti Aayog is there, it is a non-statutory body, it has only a advisory power. Okay, so in this question they are asked about NGT and Central Pollution Board. National Green Tribunal, we know it is a statutory body. So the first statement, NGT has been established by an act, whereas the CPSB has been created by an executive order of the government. That's the first part of the statement, you will say yes, it is correct, NGT is a statutory body. CPCB, whether it is a statutory body or an executive or a non-statutory body. See, when I say executive order, it means it's a non-statutory body. So whether it is a statutory or non-statutory body, it is a statutory body. CPCB, that is Central Pollution Control Board, is a statutory body. Now there is an act, that is Prevention of Pollution in Water Act. From that act only CPCB was being created. Later on, Prevention of Air Pollution Act also has given the recognition for CPC, given additional powers for Central Pollution Control Board. So now Central Pollution Control Board as an authority, okay, it can give license to vehicles, it can seal certain institutions which is not adhering to pollution standards and all. Okay, so the second statement with itself tells that CPC is having a statutory power, and by logic also, by just our regular reading of newspaper, we know it has certain powers, so it should be a statutory body. Okay, so first statement is wrong, second statement is correct, so answer is 2 only. Next type of question is opinion based question. Okay, see what actually I am trying to do is, I have already explained to you in short earlier what are the problems that will be faced during taking up the preliminary examination questions. Now I am dealing with each one of the questions. I am giving example for each one of the problems that would be faced for your better understanding. So some of the questions will be opinion based. Okay, as we discussed already, right to privacy is protected as an intricate part of right to life and personal liberty. So this is a statement. Which of the following in the Constitution of India correctly and appropriately imply the above statement? See here, they are not asking whether right to privacy is a right under right to life and personal liberty and all, because that is the contestation. Some having the opinion right to privacy is part of right to life and liberty. Some people are saying no, it is not intrinsic part of right to life and personal liberty. So that is opinion based. But however, they have given it to the statement itself to clarify. They are telling the aspirants, this is a stand taken by the examiner, right to privacy is protected under right to life and personal liberty. But here, the question part is, which of the following in the Constitution of India correctly and appropriately imply the above statement? So, as we know all, Article 21 and the freedom guaranteed in the Part 3 of the Indian Constitution, that is fundamental rights part. Article 14, will not directly be related to right to privacy. Article 14 talks about right to equality. Article 17 about untouchability, and Article 24 right against exploitation. So the appropriate answer will be C. It's an easy question, but remember, okay, whenever in case if they are asking opinion based question, don't go by the opinion, go by the court's final judgment. What is the court has declared very recently, go by that judgment. Question number 5, it talks about certain questions where you have to understand the question by looking at the keywords. Now here, with reference to the election of President of India, consider the following statement. The value of vote of each MLA varies from state to state. The word state to state is very important. That is because not all the MLAs of all the states represent the same number of population. For example, supposing if you take UP, okay, if an MLA in UP is representing 20 lakh people, MLA in Tamil Nadu will be representing 10 lakh people. Now when MLAs from two different states is taking part in the election of the president, their vote value should be different naturally. If you are saying both of them is having same value, it is like undermining the people of UP, okay, because most number of people is represented by a UP MLA compared to the number of people represented by the MLA in Tamil Nadu. So the value of the vote of each MLA varies from state to state. Now what problem would you have faced? Those who have taken last year's examination, what problem they faced is, they were thinking, is it not the population of all the constituencies are same? So since all the population of all the constituencies are same, naturally vote value of all the MLAs should be equal. Maybe MLA vote value in the presidential election is not equal to MP's vote value. That everybody knows. But between MLAs, they will be thinking that it is equal. Remember, vote value of MLA within state is equal. Okay, because under the delimitation process, we have just what is delimitation process? You know, two things are there. One is allocation of seats to Lok Sabha, redrawing the boundaries of constituencies. Now, when allocation of seats to Lok Sabha has been freezed 1971, meaning it is based on 1971 census only, we are following the same thing. But redrawing the boundaries of the constituencies, okay, we have done it in the year 2001. That is after census 2001, we have gone for the redrawing of the boundaries of the constituencies. So now what happened is we have not changed the number of constituencies, but we have changed the boundaries of the states. So now what happens is the population is different between different constituencies. Okay, same number of MLAs is not being represented. So the first statement, no, the value of vote of each MLA varies like that only if they have given, then it would have been a confusion. You would have been thinking that within the state vote value of each MLA is same. That would have created a confusion. The key word here is state to state. So now between states, so when you compare between states, if you know this, that MLA of one state represents more number of people compared to smaller states, then automatically you will say this is a correct one. And second, the vote value of MPs of Lok Sabha is more than the vote value of MPs of Rajya Sabha. This is wrong statement. Okay, why it is a wrong statement? That is because, okay, how we arrive at the vote value of total number of MPs? First, we will calculate vote value of all MLAs of all states. Then we will divide it by, okay, the total number of MPs who take part in presidential. So automatically all the vote value of all the MPs is going to be the same. There is not going to be different. There is no difference between Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha MPs. So the second statement is wrong. The vote value of vote of MPs of Lok Sabha more the value of vote of MPs of Rajya Sabha. Okay, all of their vote values are the same. So 1 is the correct answer. Okay, here there is another interpretation that you may give. Okay, calculating the vote value of all the MPs of Lok Sabha. Lok Sabha has how many MPs? 545. Rajya Sabha 245. Okay, so you may be saying the vote value of all the MPs may be equal, but since Lok Sabha MPs are 545, their vote value is more. Okay, but here now when they say the value of the vote of MPs, which means single vote they are talking about, not vote value of all the votes of the MPs. So don't go for the other interpretation here. The vote value of the vote of MPs means single MP. So every MP, whether it is Rajya Sabha or Lok Sabha MP, it is equal only. So second statement is wrong. So answer would be 1 only. Then political theory or philosophy based questions. Okay, I am taking some 3-4 type of political theory questions and I will let you know how to arrive at the correct answer. Okay, so just apply the logic. Okay, so what are the logic? One of the logic is put the government filter. Now here in this question, which one of the following reflects the nicest and appropriate relationship between law and liberty? Okay, so this was a great dilemma question. Now first statement, let us see. If there are more laws, there is less liberty. It may appear to be correct, but see the keywords: nicest and appropriate relationship between law and liberty. So when sometimes in order to ensure liberty, we have to create law. For example, to ensure freedom of press, freedom of speech and expression and other things, we need law. Okay, so let us keep on hold. It cannot be most appropriate. If there are no laws, there is no liberty. Okay, what will happen if this there is no law? The might will be right. And what will happen is only those people who are stronger, those people have enough money power and muscle power will have the say, will have the liberty. The poor and the powerless will not be enjoying the liberty. So if there should be liberty for all, there should be law. Okay, so this statement if there are no laws, there is no liberty is correct. But wait, you should not always jump and go and mark in the OMR immediately after finding the correct answer. You have to eliminate all other options, then only arrive at the correct answer, then go into the marking of OMR. Now the third statement, let us see. If there is liberty, laws have to be made by the people. Okay, this is as such a statement, yes. Okay, the true liberty is where laws will have to be made by the people, or at least by the representatives of the people. Okay, but it is one of the case. The second case is there shall be liberty even if law is created by the representatives of people. And fourth, if law are changed too often, liberty is in danger. Yes, when we are changing the law too often, Okay, when there is no predictability of the law, there is liberty. Maybe today there is freedom of press. Suddenly tomorrow the freedom of press is removed by some of the restrictions. The liberty of the individual is at stake. So when laws are changed too often, liberty is in danger. So this statement also appears to be correct. Now this is a political theory question. Okay, so political science students know that, said by John Locke. So they will easily put this answer, but however, even a common person can easily say B is the right answer. You will be having a conflict with B and D only, right? That is because this can be eliminated. Okay, so relatively it is not talking about the appropriate relation. Third one also does not talk about the appropriate relation between law and liberty, but B and D is talking about it. So now there is a dilemma, which option to be choosing, whether B or D. So this is where this examination is about picking up bureaucrats. Okay, your future bureaucrats. Okay, and in the perspective of bureaucrats, B statement stands to be more relevant, because according to the government requires law in order to provide liberty to all individuals. Whereas an activist will see change of law as a danger to his liberty. Okay, but an appropriate government for the people, okay, when they change the law to enhance the power of the people. Now, whether to take this question in the perspective of an activist or perspective of a government, okay, you take it in the perspective of a government, because this examination to recruit the bureaucrats. Okay, so even if you are not knowing political science, okay, a normal student, just by reading the statement and applying the government filter, okay, in the perspective of the bureaucrat, if you're going to give the answers, then you will be able to give the correct answer for philosophy based questions, okay, or political theory based questions. Then once again, another type of political theory question which can be solved by elimination method. Now what is rule of law? Now rule of law, okay, as such, whether it is defined in the constitution, this is what I was talking about earlier, letter versus spirit. Whether any provision according to Indian constitution is given for rule of law, no. Okay, but it should be understood by spirit. There is no letter, but you should be understanding by the spirit. Meaning there should be always a law. On the basis of law only, administration has to be carried out. The whims and fancies of the rulers or bureaucrats should not be there. Okay, according to one's own wish, one's own desire, administration cannot be carried out. First, if any prime minister, chief minister, ministers or bureaucrats has to do something, first they have to create a law in the legislature. Then with the authority of the law, they have to take measures. Okay, so that is the meaning of rule of law. It is opposed to rule of men. Now this, if you apply this spirit, whether rule of law means limitation of powers, yes. You don't give excessive powers, you put limitations on the powers of the constitutional authorities, telling that you should work within the limitation of rule of law only, the law that is created. Equality before law will also come, okay, because you have a law, it should be applying it in equally among people. If you are differentially applying it, there is no rule of law, there is no limitation of power. The unequal application of law is excessive power, in other words. So now third statement, people's responsibility to the government, they are talking about fundamental duty. Now fundamental duty will not come, because it is a responsibility of the people, okay, to the government. Okay, rule of law, whereas talking about the relationship between government to the people, how government can use its power over the people. Okay, so the third statement is people centric, so automatically you can take it out, third one. In liberty and civil rights, okay, automatically liberty and civil rights is important. If that is not there, rule of law will not be there. This is the general meaning. By spirit, liberty and civil rights must be there. Okay, now 3 should not be there, right? So option A can be eliminated, option D also can be eliminated. Now the doubt is between 2 and third option, that is option B and option C. You will be getting confused. Okay, now 1 to 4 and 2 4. 1 to 4 means limitation of power, equality before law and liberty and civil rights. Okay, now 1 will definitely be coming. Okay, 2 also will be coming. So naturally you can settle for C. In option B, they have not mentioned number 1. Rule of law, necessary limitation of power will come. So here, by elimination method only we are arriving at the answer. Because rule of law is defined differently. For example, in Lakshmikant's book, if you see, Dicey has defined rule of law differently. In Indian context, rule of law is defined differently. So you will be having always a dilemma, okay, by which you have to go. So in question paper, in the examination, you have to go by the options. By eliminating the options, you have to arrive at the answers for political theory related questions or political philosophy related questions. Okay, so be practical, be logical. Don't worry, that this is a, a political philosophy question, theory question, only political science or pub students can answer. or even by common understanding, common reading of polity, you can do it. Okay. Now another important thing, according to, this is very important in polity, as I discussed now, whether it is according to constitution or whether according to convention or statutory provision, you must clearly know. Okay, so these type of questions, for example, this question, in the election for Lok Sabha or state assembly, the winning candidate must get at least 50% of the votes polled to be declared elected. This is wrong. It's not at least 50%, it is plurality of votes, meaning whichever candidate is getting maximum number of votes will be cleared as winner. 50% means majority of votes. It's very difficult to get. Okay, and that to multi-party system and a multicultural society like India, getting 50% is plus 1, it's not possible at all. So by logic itself you can say it is wrong, and since we are all, most of us are taking part in the elections, you can easily say it is, not 50%, but it is plurality of votes, maximum number of votes. Okay, so first statement would be wrong. Second, according to the provisions laid down in the Constitution of India, in Lok Sabha, the speaker's post goes to the majority party and deputy speaker to the opposition. Yes, from 1969 they have recognized opposition leaders post. Sorry, 1977 I said it has been made, okay, statutory provision. And which one? Opposition leader only. So the Lok Sabha, the speaker's post goes to the majority party. Yes, this is true, but this is by convention. If they want to make a person from opposition party, that person also can be made as a speaker. Okay, so it is just a convention. It's not given in the constitution. By convention only, majority party person will become the speaker, deputy speaker goes to the opposition. This can be changed also. For example, 2004 to 2009, okay, Somnath Chatterjee, who belonged to Communist Party, okay, was the speaker. He did not belong to the majority party. Okay, likewise the present deputy speaker of the recently concluded Lok Sabha is from ADMK, okay, which is one of the partners of the majority party. A member or representative from opposition party was not given the deputy speaker's post. Okay, so this key word constitution you have to look. People would have missed the word constitution. As per convention this is correct, but as per constitution it is wrong. Okay, so most of them would have made a mistake here only. So look for the keyword according to. So you must know whether it is according to constitution, convention or statutory provision. Now which is the correct answer? They have asked for which is correct. Neither one nor two is correct. Both of them are wrong statements. Then contradicting verdicts. For example, question number 9, right to vote and right to be elected in India, whether it is a fundamental right, natural right, constitutional right and legal right. Now you know that it is not a fundamental right, it is not a natural right. Now your confusion will be between constitutional right as well as legal right. I see sometimes court gave contradicting verdicts, okay, according to the context. In one case the court has said right to vote is a constitutional right. In one case they have said it is a legal right. Okay, in case of contradictions, okay, what should we do? You should apply three principles. One is apply logic, okay, and see here, when you apply logic, what are rights? Rights are claims of the individual against a state. Okay, now these claims, okay, if it is accepted as justified, then it can be called as a rights. Okay, or in other words, rights are justified claims. When it is accepted by society, okay, if society accepts that it is a basic claim of the individual against it, then it is called as a moral right. Okay, example, human rights. Okay, then if a claim is accepted by state, okay, it is called as a legal right. See here, I am using the word capital L. This legal right is used, okay, just to differentiate it with human rights. Okay, this completely changes in Indian context. In Indian context, rights are divided into constitutional rights, statutory rights. Rights which is given in the constitution is called as constitutional rights. Statute is called as a statutory rights. Okay, statutory rights is also interchangeably is called as legal rights. But in fact, technically you have to say statutory rights, but people interchangeably use the word legal rights. That is why the confusion is. Now under constitutional rights you have fundamental rights and other constitutional legal rights. So part 3 of Indian constitution, whatever rights is there, we will say fundamental rights. The remaining part is called as other constitutional legal rights. You have to exactly use the technical term other constitutional rights. But people interchangeably use legal rights for this also. That is the confusion. Okay. So now by logic, okay, are they mentioning the if you say right to vote and elected to be India is a legal right, it is not a right based on statutory right. It is coming under the constitution. If you say legal right only, it means that the right is only based on the law, but it is based on the constitutional provisions. 325, 326 will come. Okay, so you can go for a constitutional right, okay, as the correct answer. The book also, NCERT also says it is a constitutional right, and some people will still argue that no sir, it is legal rights also. Dear friends, this is where you must understand, in questions like this come, contradictory verdicts are there, especially on political theory questions. Okay, don't keep thinking, overthinking. If you keep overthinking, the consequent questions that you will face, there also you will have the impact. So just think a little bit and by some logic arrive at the answer, either constitutional right or legal right. Now the answer key depends upon the whims of UPSC. UPSC may give it constitutional right or legal right, whichever source they are referring to. So in questions like this, I told no, there will be like 2 or 3 questions only in the out of entire 100 questions. So don't worry about these 2 and 3 questions. Definitely attend it, but attend it in the second round. Okay, so at the time, why I am saying do it in the second round. First time you will be keep thinking, you will not be able to take any decision. But first round, after answering substantial number of questions, now you will have some confidence. Say 35 to 40 questions if you have answered already, okay, you will have confidence. At that time, questions like this, you will take right decisions. And moreover, even if it goes wrong, okay, 50% the questions will be correct. So at the end, you will be getting positive marks only, okay, extra marks only. So interpretation based questions, 2 or 3 questions which is there, take it in the second round. Okay, don't overthink, okay, just apply some logic or whatever there is given by in the book, accordingly answer and come. Logic and elimination method. Once again, here the Election Commission of India is a 5-member body. Okay, is it a 5-member body? It is a multi-member body. Okay, some of you may think it is a 3-member body. That is also wrong statement, because according to the constitution, okay, it is a multi-member body. Union Ministry of Home Affairs decides the election schedule for the conduct of both general election and by-election. We know the government will not be responsible, it is completely Election Commission. Okay, so now 2 will definitely not come by logic, because if Home Ministry is deciding the election, they will be conducting the election is favorable to the ruling party. So the election date, okay, should be carried out by the Election Commission only. Second statement completely wrong. If you know that alone, okay, simple. First statement won't come, second statement won't come, and this will also not come. So you are arriving at the answer that option D is the right answer. Because the third statement, no, Election Commission resolves the disputes relating to split and merger of recognition of political parties. Splits and mergers you would have learnt in anti-defection law only. There Election Commission, whether it is coming or not, speaker only come. Okay, so you may have a doubt third statement whether it is completely wrong or correct. Okay, there will be a dilemma, because constitution specifically mentions Election Commission resolves the disputes related to election symbol, okay, whenever there is a split or merger of a recognized political party. Okay, so the words election symbol is not there, other things are not there, who's the correct party. So you may get a doubt in this third statement, but however second statement logically will not come. Automatically by elimination method you will be able to arrive at the answer. So that is why when you see some statements, if it is appearing to be confusing, you are not able to know whether it is a correct statement or wrong statement, go by option. Okay, by eliminating one statement, by clearly knowing one statement whether it is completely correct or completely wrong, thereby you can eliminate maximum number of options. Sometimes 3 options will be deleted, so you will arrive at one definite option, you can arrive at the correct answer. Okay, in case of 2 answers, okay, 2 options is coming after all elimination, then go by 50-50 rule, which means think by some logic and put that answer and come. Mostly you will get it right. Okay, with 80% coverage of syllabus and good preparation, okay, whenever you are making a logical decision on a 50-50 question, when you have a doubt between 2 options, okay, you can think and immediately put an option, definitely it will be correct only. Okay, maximum probability. The chances of getting wrong is very less. Concept clarity of article 21, this is very important. Okay, now judicial review in India, what does it mean? Now judicial review, has it been defined anywhere in the constitution? No. But the word judicial review, whether there is in the constitution? No. Okay, only article 13 says that in case of fundamental right is violated, judicial review is possible. Judiciary come and strike down the law. Okay, so let us read each one of the statement and try to understand what is the correct statement. The power of the judiciary to pronounce upon the constitutionality of laws and executive orders. Yes, this statement is correct. Now here you will be having a doubt. Executive order is given, constitutionality of laws. With one doubt that will be faced by students is, okay, earlier Article 21, it used the word procedure established by law, not due process of law. Okay, so they were using procedure established by law, meaning only arbitrary actions, executive order. Okay, Article 21 gave protection against arbitrary executive action only. Okay, that is before, okay, when they use the word procedure established by law. But as we know, they have changed the word to due process of law. Now the meaning of the word Article 21, procedure established by law, is due process of law. Okay, so now it is not only against arbitrary executive action, but also it is against arbitrary legislative action. Okay, so now constitutionality of laws under Article 21 as well as executive orders, both is correct. But as I said already, even when you are arriving at the correct answer first itself, don't immediately go and mark OMA sheet. First just check whether option B, option C and D is valid or not. Okay, sometimes they may be most appropriate answer. Okay, let us look at the option B. The power of the judiciary to question the wisdom of the laws enacted by the legislature. Here use the word wisdom. Wisdom means what? Experience. Okay, it is not the validity, constitutional validity of the laws. They are talking of wisdom of laws, meaning, okay, the lawmakers, MPs would have created a law for a particular purpose. Okay, so the judiciary cannot question the purpose. The judiciary should check only whether the constitutional provisions has been adhered to or not. So second one will not come. The power of judiciary to review all the legislative enactments before they are assented to by the president. Okay, judicial review will follow only after assent. That by logic. Okay, then the power of the judiciary to review its own judgment given earlier in its different cases. This is Article 137, which talks about review petition. Review petition is different from judicial review. When judiciary reviews the action of executive and legislature, it is called as judicial review. When judiciary reviews its own judgment, it is called as review petition. Article 137. So this also will not come. This clarity should be there. What is the difference between judicial review and review petition? Okay. Now, if they are asking whether we are following procedure established by law or due process of law in India, if they ask under original constitution, we are following procedure established by law. As of now, Article 21 is based on due process of law. So in prelims examination, if they are asking, be clear, Article 21 talks about due process of law only. Okay. If they are giving option, Article 21 deals with procedure established by law, option A, option B, due process of law, go for due process of law. Then interpretation based questions. Okay, sometimes there will be interpretation based questions. Okay, how to achieve it by elimination method. Which of the following are not necessarily the consequence of the proclamation of presidential rule in a state? Okay, now dissolution of state legislative assembly, it is a consequence. Removal of council of ministers of a state is also a consequence, but dissolution of local bodies not a consequence. Here students will face one problem of interpretation, because in SR Bommai case, okay, the court has clarified that when the presidential rule is declared in a state, there are two options with the state legislative assembly. Either it can be suspended or dissolved. But remember, the Bommai case has said first you have to suspend. Only after getting approval from parliament you have to dissolve the state legislative assembly. So whenever a presidential rule is proclaimed in a state, there is no direct consequence. It is not necessary that the state legislative assembly shall be dissolved. Okay, so you may say the first statement is also not a consequence, not necessarily a consequence, because okay, the suspension of state legislative assembly is the first consequence. In case of approval of parliament only, dissolution of state legislative assembly will come. So the first statement is not a direct consequence. Like that you may interpret. Some of you may interpret like that also, but this is where you have to go by elimination method. You have doubt in interpretation, go to the key and see, options and see. Supposing if you are considering the first statement as not a consequence, first statement as not a consequence, not necessarily a consequence, then answer will be 1 and 3. Okay, then if you say only local bodies, okay, dissolution of state legislative assembly is a consequence, removal of council of ministers in the state is a consequence, the third one is also only a not a consequence. So your answer should be 3 only. Okay, so you are arriving at answers by applying both the interpretations, but okay, if you apply the first statement not a consequence, like that 1 and 3 should come, you have an answer. But if you think that first statement is a consequence, answer should be only 3, which is not available here. Okay, so the simple reading we won't immediately get this difference between dissolution and the suspension, but however the person who has taken the question, just they wanted to know that the first consequence of proclamation of presidential rule is only removal of council of ministers and suspension of the state legislative assembly, not the dissolution. Okay, so your answer is 1 and 3 only. So this is how you have to arrive. If there is a problem in interpretation, automatically by seeing the options you can arrive at the correct level of interpretation. Okay, so if 2 interpretations are available, I am concluding 2 interpretations that are simple. Apply both interpretations and see what is the options are coming. If there is an option that is available there, then that interpretation of yours is right. And another way of dealing with interpretation based question is keyword. Okay, now which of the following are envisaged as right against exploitation in the Constitution of India? The question, the keyword is Constitution of India, because okay, abolition of untouchability is also against exploitation only. Okay, untouchability is exploitation. When you abolish untouchability, it is against exploitation only, but they have given the word in the Constitution of India. Okay, so you can go for point number 1, point number 4. Protection of interest of minorities, once again it is in article 29 and 30, okay, which is not related to right against exploitation, it is a religious freedom. So now can see that 2 options 1 and 4 only is correct. Here you may have a dilemma, you may say abolition of untouchability also, so you may be having a dilemma with 1 to 4 also. So in that case only go for the keyword if you have a problem in interpretation. Okay, by spirit you are saying abolition of untouchability will come under right against exploitation only, but in Indian Constitution, okay, it is given under right to equality. So if they say that untouchability is considered to be exploitation, that statement is correct. They say which of the following are envisaged. What is the meaning of the word envisaged? Okay, thought about or spoken about by the Constitution. So by Constitution it is prohibition of trafficking of in human beings and prohibition of employment of children in factories and mines. Those two are the provisions under right against exploitation. Next question. Okay, once again letter versus spirit. Okay, so this is an example. This question is a political theory question which you can decide by letter versus spirit. Now out of the following statement, choose one of the bring out the principle underlying the cabinet form of government. First statement, an arrangement for minimizing the criticism against the government whose responsibilities are complex and hard to carry out to the satisfaction of all. Okay, it's not about minimizing the criticism. Okay, so first statement, it is evident it is wrong. A mechanism for speeding up the activities of the government whose responsibilities are increasing day by day. Of course, this statement as such is correct for a cabinet system. The purpose of cabinet as an institution. This statement appears to be correct. So you may think B is correct. C, a mechanism of parliamentary democracy for ensuring collective responsibility of the government to the people. Okay, now why do we have C here? See, this is where once again underline cabinet form of government. Now here there is nowhere cabinet form of government is defined in Indian Constitution, except we know in article 352 the word cabinet has been mentioned. For what purpose? To tell that during national emergency declaration, signature should be obtained from all the cabinet ministers. There is no definition of the word cabinet, and here they have not used the cabinet as an institution. Here see, it is a cabinet is a mechanism for speeding up the activities of the government whose responsibilities are increasing day by day, but cabinet form of government they have given. So the purpose you have to see, spirit, you have to answer by spirit. Okay, so very simple. Political theory based questions, no? Okay, political theory based questions, when they are asking, go by the spirit and answer. So here political theory, cabinet form of government. What is the spirit behind cabinet form of government? To have collective responsibility. But exactly there is a provision of the Constitution is there. Then you answer by letter. That is why I have added this point here. Very important. If it is political theory, you have to answer by spirit. If it is provision of constitution, you have to answer by letter. Now, right to life against private individual. Listen carefully. Right to life is there in the Article 21, but it is against state, not against private individual. But logically, if an individual is killed, okay, it is a very bad thing, and the very sacrosanct thing, the life itself is eliminated. So life is a fundamental right, whether it is eliminated by government or whether it is eliminated by a private individual. But for practical purposes, the constitution has said right to life and liberty, right to life is against state only, not against private individual. If a private individual is murdering another person, he will be subjected to legal right violation only. Case will be filed in an ordinary court and they will be continuing with the prosecution. But when state kills an individual, it will be seen as violation of fundamental right, and the matter will be taken up by the Supreme Court directly or the High Court directly. Okay, that's the difference. See, by spirit, by political theory, right to life is there against the state as well as private individual, right? Because the private individual also cannot kill another individual, state also cannot kill. But for constitutional provision, they are saying right to life is a fundamental right according to Article 21. It is not available against private individual. So when there is an explicit provision, right to life, Article 21, which says that it is not against private individual. Now, whether you have to go by the spirit of the provision or letter of the provision, you have to go by the letter of the provision, because there is explicit constitutional provision. You can apply only spirit of the provision only when there is a political theory concepts like democracy, federalism, cabinet form of government, etc., etc. Okay, so when you have a dilemma between B and C, the answer would be C for question number 14. Okay, then which of the following is not a feature of Indian federalism? Okay, now this is also a political theory. Okay, now here, even though federalism is a political theory, now they have clearly mentioned Indian federalism keyword. Okay, now should we answer based on the letter of the constitution or spirit of the constitution? Since they have said Indian federalism and they have used the constitutional provisions, you go by letter here. Because actually, if you say a federal country, there should be equal representation in Rajya Sabha. But unequal representation in Rajya Sabha is a unique feature for Indian federalism. So here you have to go by the spirit of the Indian constitution, letter of the Indian constitution, because the provisions are given. There is an independent judiciary in India, yes. Powers has been clearly divided between the center and state, yes. The unequal representation in Rajya Sabha, yes. Okay, so 3 statements would be correct. It is the result of agreement among the federating units. Usually a federalism, this statement is correct. But by looking at the letter of Indian constitution, this statement is not correct. Why? Because in Indian federalism is based on the principle of holding together, not coming together. Okay, so whenever there is a common question, political theory question like federalism, democracy is asked, they put the India filter. Okay, and in the options you have provisions in the constitution, then it means it is a question not based on political theory, it is based on constitutional provision. So you have to go by the letter